Hey guys, what's up? You guys can tell that I'm getting bald yet? I'm bald and all this is gonna be gone. Anyway, I got tagged by Richard Roy because he had gotten tagged by P. Cameron Lullaby. And it's an interesting tag. It's one that I don't think I've seen on YouTube before. And it's so interesting that I had to jump on. It's basically a what do you do for your own enjoyment type of tag. Like it basically is like, you know, we get so caught up in our everyday life, going to work, handling bills, you know, the daily grind, that sometimes, you know, basic activities that we engage in, we get so burnt out in, you know, regular everyday activities that there's something that we do to escape, and there's like that certain thing that we do that drives us, that defines who we are. And so P. Cameron Lullaby basically asks, what is that thing that you do? What is your craft that defines who you are? What's the one thing that you do for escape that gives you enjoyment? I guess it doesn't even have to be escape, really. Like what, like I guess if you call it your hobby, your craft, your interest, what is it that you do? And I don't know, I was tagged by Richard Roy, and he also sent me a PM, and I got a slightly different impression of what this tag was about. I thought it was more of who are you as a person. And while I was at work, I was thinking up in my head what that video was going to be, and I had it all spelt out, like, okay, when I get home, this is the video I'm going to put out. And then I get home, and then because I didn't watch the video yet, I just saw the tag before I ran out the house. And I responded to him that I was going to do this. And I started thinking about it at work, and then I rushed back here, and then I watched a video. I'm like, oh, this is not exactly what I thought it was going to be. But I was still obviously able to respond to it, otherwise I wouldn't be filming this. So let me get on with it. Though I am going to touch on a little bit what I thought I was going to do the video on, and I might end up doing that video anyway, because I think some people would be interested in it. So what is it that I do to escape? Granted, this is stuff that I don't necessarily do to escape, though it's obvious escape thing. And believe it, I do, as much as I do like entertainment, I actually do very little as far as what my craft is concerned. Basically, you can sum up the things I like doing in, I guess, 4 things. I like to draw. I like to write. I practice martial arts, of course. And I like to engage in either debates or discussions, or I like to read or hear something that stimulates thought. I'm trying to think of the right category or term to call for it, but that would be the 4th thing. And I'll start with that one first, because if I want to get that one out of the way, because it might eat up way too much time, and I want to try to stop myself from making that one eat up too much time in the end. I'm pretty sure you guys can guess by the videos I put out that I like to deal with thought-provoking subjects. Or if I'm dealing with a more mundane subject that everybody's talking about, I like to talk about it from a different angle than everybody else, because I find that people generally don't give as much thought as I personally think that they should in certain important topics. They tend to regurgitate the same nonsense that other people say, and they sometimes don't realize that what they're saying is nonsense. Or sometimes they'll end up taking a position that they don't even realize is against their own best interests. People on the right come to mind when I think about that. There's so many people who are working class, middle class, and poor who take up positions that are right-wing positions, and they don't realize that those positions are the very things that are fucking them over. And I like trying to, you know, tap them on the brain a little bit. It's like, notice that, think about what you just said. Do you really think that's going to help you out in the long run? And I also just would like, you know, it doesn't have to be politics, obviously. And believe it or not, politics gets on my nerves to talk about. You know, I like dealing more on a philosophical slant. I like dealing more on abstract slants. And of course, religion. I haven't done a religion video in a while, but believe it or not, that has been on my mind. But I like dealing with those sorts of things. I like reading books that stimulate these type of, you know, like out of the way thoughts, the type of stuff that people tend not to dwell on sometimes because they're too busy following the official line, or they're too busy regurgitating what somebody else said. I like reading things and discussing things that make you look at the world just a bit differently than you're used to. Things that challenge your perceptions. To sum it up, I like engaging in things that make me do what I realize has always been what I've been doing. Being an infidel. I'm going to leave it at that. That's a subject for another video. But to go into more lighthearted things that I do, I guess, to escape my craft. I draw. Let's start with that one first. I don't think I'm all that great, but I do draw. It's something that I've been interested in, as far back as I can remember. I'd grab a blank piece of paper, or even lined paper, and I'd draw on it. And I used to make my own comics. Like, I would grab, you remember those old marble notebooks? I would fill them completely with doodles and one-page drawings, and even like straight up stories written in a comic book style. And I did that all the way up until my senior year of high school. I would just fill up notebooks full of comic book stories. And the artwork, I'll admit, was horrendous up until my junior year of high school, when I finally decided to get serious about drawing. Like, before, I didn't really care because I was doing it for my own amusement. But then later on, when other people were like, what's that? What's that? And they would look at my notebooks, and they would always tell me the same thing. I love the story, but damn, man, your art sucks. And I finally got, interested in drawing the body, but I never really went to an art class. I just simply studied people and just started drawing the body that way, and I would study environments and draw it that way, to the point where my art is finally what I would call competent to tolerable. I don't think I'm all that spectacular, though a lot of people told me they thought my art was really, really good. But whatever. I don't really have enough scanned on my computer right now to show you guys. And some of you guys have actually seen my art, so you know what it looks like. Others, you haven't. Maybe one of these days I'll put it up. But that's one thing I like doing. Though I'll admit, I draw a lot less than I used to. It used to be that I used to draw every day. Now it's like every now and then. When the spark hits me, I'll suddenly start drawing. Like tonight while I was at work, I wrote for a little bit, and I'm about to get into that in a moment, but I was writing for a little bit, and so I was taking a break, and then I just started drawing, and now I got like, damn, this came out good, so I was just going crazy with it. And it's one thing that I do to escape, and there's so many characters and so many scenes and so much stuff in my head that just screams to come out on paper at times. And that goes into my writing. I also write fiction. Again, this is something that I've been doing since as far as back as I can remember. I like inventing stories. I used to, like, even as a kid, sometimes if we were just sitting around and we were bored and whatever, I would just make up a tale on the spot to entertain kids. I'd make up adventures or whatever. I like making up stories. And I got a bunch of them in my head. I got, characters upon characters and scenarios and universes and stuff like that. And again, my close friends know that about me, and some of them have actually are a little bit angry at me because there have been some story arcs that I've started that later on, because life got in the way, I never finished, and they're always like, damn it, I need to know what the fuck happens next, and I'll get around to it sooner or later, but life gets in the way. And I'm currently writing something now that a couple of friends of mine, including an established writer, is kicking me in my ass to hurry up and finish so I can get it published. But that's something else down the line. I can't even believe I'm talking about this on YouTube. But yeah, that's something that I do, and it is a fun escape, just writing fictional characters and, just having a blast with it. And that's something I do. And of course there's the martial arts aspect, but that's something that you guys already know. You already know that I'm into, practicing martial arts skills. And I don't think that I don't think I'm an expert. I don't even think I'm all that good. But it's still something I like to do all the same. But one aspect that I'm pretty sure you guys also know that I'm into in martial arts is researching it. Not just practicing it, but researching it. Seeing how it developed. Seeing how the techniques came into being. Why people came up with the combat theories that they did. And how it developed in history. And I found out something rather interesting about that. When you start researching martial arts and seeing how it developed, how it, was generated in history, how it was created, and how, it evolved throughout history, you start seeing that the things that most people believe about martial arts aren't true. Hence my, should I say semi-popular martial arts myth series, which people have been yelling at me to hurry up and do another one. I get a lot of flack for those videos. I really do. Hell, just recently, just like yesterday and the day before, I got yet another PM basically telling me that I was full of shit. And once again, I had to send out a PM back to them going, no, my shit's actually been heavily researched. And the person basically came back saying, well, those people that you research, they're full of shit. Yeah, go ahead and tell people who are, martial artists in their own right, and they've also got access to historical documents and can read the language that these documents were in. Go ahead and tell them that they're full of shit for what they've researched. It's funny as hell, but I guess this goes into my whole infidel thing. I've always, ever since I can remember, I was always the guy going, no, that's not true. No, the official byline is not the way it goes. No, your thinking's a little bit faulty there. I was always that guy kind of tapping you on the shoulder, and then you get heat for that. And it's annoying when you realize sometimes how obvious the truth is, but I can't say I don't get a bit of enjoyment out of it. But I don't know. It's just, I guess this is something that permeates in all of my activities, really. Because in martial arts, I practice martial arts, but I also research martial arts, and then because of the research, I end up doing the infidel thing. My artwork, well, I guess not really so much in the artwork, because the artwork I just simply draw for enjoyment, and I end up just drawing characters just because. But I end up drawing characters who tend to be rebels in their own universes. And then my writing definitely reflects unorthodox characters. I know I always like writing protagonists who always go against the status quo. They always go against the establishment in some way. They always go against the official byline. They're always unorthodox. If they're not hardcore rebels, then they're at least unorthodox. They don't go the way you expect them to. And, well, I guess one last thing. I still have time. Man, I'm burning up minutes. Reading. I guess it's the fifth thing. I love reading, but I notice that the books I like reading have to be off kilter. My nonfiction, I have to read books that stimulate thought and, again, don't go with the status quo. Right now, I'm rereading A People's History of the United States. Love that book. Thanks to another guy, Third Eye, I'm reading Quantum Psychology. Dude, I'm loving that book. The Drunkard's Walk, which I talked to you guys about before. Loving that book. As far as fiction goes, some of you guys know I like fantasy books a lot. And as far as, I don't got time to go into all the books I want to read, but just to give you the quintessential book that lets you know the type of stuff I like reading, Schrader, for Star Wars. For those of you who are into reading Star Wars books or those old sci-fi books, remember the New Jedi Order series? Schrader is my favorite out of every single last one of them. That to me is it's my favorite Star Wars book, period. It's what got me reading Matthew Stover's books in the first place, and I love Matthew Stover's work. Seriously, if you want to see books that do not deal in black and white whatsoever, it's always shades of gray, and it always makes you question usual modes of thought, you've got to read Matthew Stover. And Schrader is like a quintessential book of how it just completely goes against established norms. Great, it's just great stuff. So, yeah, I gotta end this video. Those are my activities. I'm tagging other people. It's going to be in the description below. I'd love to hear what you guys like. So, catch you guys later.